First of all, at the very highest level, there are things like errors of omission, which means there's something missing in your model. And in many respects, these are the hardest to identify and require domain knowledge. So whatever it is that the model is representing, you need to understand the business and its environment and so on, or have somebody who does. Otherwise, it's very easy to miss out something that's fundamental. So actually, as I say, those are very tricky to identify if you don't know the domain subject very well. And then we have errors of commission, which is essentially everything else. So if you have a model and it's got everything in it that it should have, is that built correctly? Does it do what it's supposed to do? So some examples of that might be flawed calculation, which again can be caused by a lack of domain knowledge. This is where perhaps you don't know how a calculation should work. And in many industries, there are specific calculations, regulatory calculations, for example, which are of a particular specified approach, and you need to understand those. Then we've got logic errors, which is really where the modeler understands what should be happening, but the calculations aren't performing as intended, and those are things that we can certainly try and spot. And best practice infringements, now these are not necessarily always serious, but I personally am a big proponent of best practice modeling because it can reduce the errors. Things like hard coding, which we'll come on to in a minute, where you have a mixture of cell references and input numbers. Now those input numbers could be there as a result of a quick fix, or trying something out and just got left in the model and shouldn't be there. And then we've got things like pointing errors. So these are quite common. It's easy to point the mouse at the wrong cell or the wrong category or something of that sort. Anchoring errors, by which I mean the incorrect use of or lack of use of absolute referencing, so that can be absolute columns and absolute row references. And if you're not familiar with that, then I suggest you go and look that up. You'll see dollars in formulae. We'll take a look at a couple of those in examples in a moment. Also, inappropriate copying. It's all very well, and it's actually a good idea to try and copy your formulae across and down, but you do have to make sure that the logic in the formula is appropriate for all the range that you're copying. So that is also a potential source of error. And then there's XL errors, which we'll take a look at the full list of XL errors in a moment. And these are often masked by either using if error or some other construction, such as if, using the if function to return a zero or something of that sort instead of an error.